Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Crete podcast. Super excited for an absolute legend in the industry. I know you guys never saw the first round, but this is actually the second time we've tried this. The first time I didn't hit a button or technology failed me, but second time's always better than the first. So we are super excited to have Isaiah Pride and the Wicked Kolors on the podcast. Thanks for coming on again.
I appreciate you, buddy. And a second time's always the charm. So
there you go. We'll knock this one out of the park. So, guys, as always, we're going to talk about three primary topics all about business growth, right? The past, the present, and the future. One with the business, two, personal development, and of course, for industry growth as well. So, first and foremost, give a quick bio about yourself, kind of, what you're currently doing.
Currently, primarily what we've become known for at Wicked Kolors is decorative solutions, concrete restoration, those type of things on a national level. We do the majority of the exposure that we get within the industry is primarily focused on mixed media applications and custom decorative installations of epoxy and cementitious overlays. We have multiple arms of Wicked Kolors. We do just as much of the custom stuff, just as much of the custom work that we do. We have just as much going on in the industrial and commercial applications. We've just found, as far as marketing is concerned, it's we get enough exposure on the custom side that we don't necessarily have to spend money and delve into the advertisement on the industrial and commercial sides of things, which after the first of the year we'll have an increase in advertisement in those sectors as well, due to some other expansion stuff that we have. But just a brief background on us, that's primarily what we are known for, is all things concrete restoration, cementitious overlays, resinous epoxy coatings, vertical carved concrete. We pride ourselves in being able to provide solutions from concept throughout completion. So we're actively involved in the design side, system creation, system theory. We have we're very blessed that we have a vertical integration within the industry, all the way up to the importation of raw materials, the R&D side of it, being able to research, try new systems, put new things together, without getting too far into the fundamentals of it. We have a real blessing in the fact that we get to be involved in those things. So we have a fair amount of work that we do as consultants for manufacturers within the industry. We consult with clients, with other coatings contractors nationally, provide trainings. So we have a whole lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, for real. That kind of sums up everything, past, present, and everything. But let's unpack that a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning, right? So,
Yes, sir.
what did you do in your past, right? How were you a concrete guy? How'd you get into it? Decorative, like clearly you don't just start doing your level shit today, right? So how did it start?
Yes, sir. So I was born and raised in a concrete family. As far back as I can remember, even as early as 10, 12 years old, I can remember picking up trash and being the errand guy, the errand kid on the job with my dad. I was born and raised in Rhode Island. My family is originally from the state of Rhode Island. My father was doing concrete and structural and commercial applications in the state of Rhode Island as long as I can remember. He moved to Tennessee, I think, when I was around 14. I have two brothers that have always been involved in the concrete industry. So concrete was just something that I grew up in. I've been an artist my whole life. So it's a natural progression of things that, being an artist mindset, always trying to push the envelope and see what I could do artistically or in a creative sense, which has obviously imposed on the company and the type of work that we do. So I'm a little less refined than some of the other guys in the industry. I didn't finish high school. I got my GED, went to work full time for the family company with my brothers. As I got older, I spent a little time out of town, and when I came back, Both of my brothers were actively involved in the family company, and just too many pit bulls eating out of the same bowl, everybody chasing the same dollar in the same town, pursuing concrete. So in the spirit of working as a collective and not all chasing the same dollar, I spent a considerable amount of time pursuing general contractor work, partnered with my dad, mostly municipality work, Parks and Recs, City of Clarksville, Montgomery County, Tennessee, school systems. Had a fair amount of humble success when it comes to the general contracting. We also maintained a concrete division, residential contracting work. 2016 and 2017 was a good year for the flip house market for me. So we had multiple divisions. At the end of the day, I think 4 or 5 years ago now, me and my father had a falling out, and we both decided to go our own ways, liquidated some companies and membership in each other's companies, and just ultimately parted ways. It was for the best. And that's when I started pursuing Wicked Colors full time.
Okay.
Which Wicked Colors it's talking about the past. It's a funny thing. Wicked Colors, when I had originally set it up, it was intended to be a painting company who I had set up for my youngest daughter's mom as a painter by trade. And I helped her establish a company, which obviously I owned, but I had no intentions of managing it or utilizing it. But after the falling out and the liquidation of multiple companies with my dad, dissolving those partnerships, it was the only legitimate company that I had left to actually facilitate work through. So
right.
It's funny how the universe works sometimes, you know?
Hey man, God's got a plan for all of us. There's no doubt about that. So let's touch on that. So you start your own company, you kind of go through some things, you've had success, so you kind of know business, if you will, and you're learning stuff along the way. But when you first start a company, owner operator, right? Doesn't matter if you're painting walls or mixed media floors, you got to market, right? So how did you initially get work, right? Did that come from some of your GC side of stuff, or did you pretty much have to be like hit the ground running, door knocking, doing your shit?
A combination of both, but in all seriousness and in all truthfulness, coming from in a period of time in my life where I had dissolved relationships with my dad, like I said, my brother, multiple family members in the concrete industry, and some of the context in which me and my father had parted ways. Inside myself, I've always been that guy that I don't want anybody to give me anything. So I made a real point not to capitalize on many of the connections that I had from the general contracting side. When I walked away from it, I was at a point in my life that I said, I'm doing it by myself, and I don't. So in all fairness, not a lot of credit can be given to Wicked Colors on that side. So if you want to know the truth, for the first couple years of Wicked Colors existence, we didn't spend a dollar on marketing. And as sad as it may sound, initially, the initial push, I think we generated the majority of our sales and exposure through basic sources of free marketing, Facebook groups, buy, sell, and trade groups. I mean, and at the time we were primarily focused in Middle Tennessee, and that was the area of our stomping ground that I was truly prepared to do work in. But at the time, I was dropping bombs in every single buy, sell, and trade group. If it was 3 states away and I had no intentions of doing work there, I was just putting it out there, And every time I did a job, it didn't matter the size of it. We blasted it everywhere. And over time, I think it's more of a branding thing. You just get the exposure, and it feeds on itself. So since then, obviously we've come to spend more money on specific targeted marketing on a national level. So, but initially, that's all we did, to be honest.
Right. Well, excuse me. Well, I mean, that just sums up everything, right? So to me, it's hustle, right? You just got to do it, right? I mean, you're just
I think so.
when you want to make something work, you're just going to grind your ass off until it works. And that's what I think a lot of people need to hear in this industry. Because again, I see a lot of people maybe just starting up in business, but maybe went and worked for somebody. So I just think instant money, right? Like, hey, that's automatically going to come to me. Well, that doesn't work that way until they put the work in. So, um,
I think you're exactly right, and to touch on and further that a little bit, I think initially, and it's something that we still do today as Wicked Colors, is one of the primary thoughts, and I don't know if you want to call it a bylaw or a motivating factor within our company, and it's still true today, is that we try to remind ourselves that if you don't focus on the money, right, and you just focus on doing quality work, you focus on doing the type of work that you want to do, all of the positive financial reward will come. And when I first coming out of a situation where I had from a humble perspective, a high level of financial success with general contracting. And then I was at a point in my life where I didn't really know where I was going to go, but I knew that it had to work, right? I had kids at home and it needs to work and there's no plan B. My primary focus originally, and I used to say it to my team all the time, we're doing quality work and the money will come. Mm-hmm. So there was so many times, and I make an effort to do at least one project a year, still, that whether it's a donated to a cause, a charity, and we just try to do badass work, for lack of a better term, and we don't focus on the financial side of it. And I've found a high level of success with that type of model. If you ingrain that across the board, if the work that you do, you establish a price with your client, and then from that point on, that's the price. So we agreed that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And from that point on, you sign a contract and we both know what the dollar amount is. I try to give a little bit more than I ever get paid for on every single job. I feel that the long-term return in that model or that way of thinking far outweighs any small financial loss that I may take in giving somebody more than what they pay for.
Well, 100%. And we talked about a little bit that on the first time, right? The more you give, the more you get. And it's not financial, it's with anything, right? So, I mean, we can go into that and we will in a little bit about, like you said, donating floors, donating your time, resources. And I always relate it back to education, right? So like the more I can educate, whether it's a homeowner or it's one of my customers, or it doesn't matter, anybody within our industry, right? So like, we're active in the groups in our industry, and we're dropping knowledge and stuff like that because they're going to eventually come to us. I never once asked for anything, but it just comes. And that's what I believe is the more you give, the more you get.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, and I think we touched on some of this the first go around as well. And it's one of the most striking things within the industry today, and I think, we had discussed previously, you see the momentum and the shift within the industry of some of the like-minded individuals. Now, whether that, on some aspects of the playing field, you may be considered a competitor. We may be competing in the same market and we're selling the same products, or we're selling the same systems, the same installations, whatever that may be. But just from the perspective where I try to keep a tab on all aspects of the playing field, and I try to maintain within myself and within my team as a whole, try to be very respectful to everybody, whether I deal with them on a day-to-day basis, whether we're competitors. We try to very much be the group of people who give you a salute from across the field, a respectful salute, and we respect your hustle. But I've noticed, and I think that it is a widespread thing today. You notice that a lot of people are starting to work together, whether they be competitors. You have a select group of people that are truly putting in the effort to push this industry forward in a positive way, for the short term, but also making moves to set the table for a long-term security of people who aren't even in the industry right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
And it's another case of not necessarily being concerned about the financial impact on me personally today or those individuals. Everybody's just throwing their shit in. It's like, man, let's do something good for the industry. Let's set the table. Let's not fuck around. Excuse my language. It's just getting serious about the realities of the world. There's enough bullshit out there. It seems like it's a really good thing. It's a good industry to be ingrained in right now, because you're always going to have certain people who don't play ball. We all know. But as a general rule, you have a very, very good quality collective within this industry who, competition or not, everybody keeps their game face on, and they land on the right side of the fence. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. And that, I want to touch on that a little bit, because one of the people that we touched on a little bit that's obviously, significant in your life, Stephen Moore with Epoxy Depot, right? So we'll get into more into that in the thing, but technically, if you look at what we do and what he does, it could be considered similar, right? He's East Coast, I'm Midwest. We're distributors, but we're not fishing in the same pond. We're competitors, but man, I talk to that man almost every day. Melissa, my wife, the owner of the company, she has conversations. We're sponsoring his event. Like, obviously, like, there's no competition. It's collaboration. And I promise you, both of our companies are rising because of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I couldn't, it's tough not to put a smile on my face anytime Steve's name comes up. He's actually a very, very, very close friend of mine, as well as a business associate on many fronts. I can't speak highly enough of him. Epoxy Depot as a whole, Steve Moore Jr. is by far, without a doubt, probably one of the single most important characters within my industry life, and my company's life. He's probably one of the biggest supporters of mine, even when he doesn't have to be. There's no gain. Very, very solid character, in both business and personal aspect. I can't speak his good graces enough. But everything that you just spoke on about that type of relationship, which I'm aware you guys have, me and Steve have talked about you, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. That is the level of collaboration between legitimate, solid-minded people. And I think those type of relationships, man, are truly what's going to set the table in this industry for everybody to continue to be successful. It's not just you, it's not just him, it's not just me. Those type of relationships are going to set the ground for, like I said, installers, people, suppliers that aren't even in the industry right now to be successful long term. And I think it's a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah. It's exactly what you're talking about with collaboration. And I have noticed it too recently. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. And you're always going to have your guys that butt heads. And it doesn't matter what I use this material, I use this material. Good for you. But are we actually installing the process correctly, and education and doing that? And you're starting to see a lot more of that. At least I do in the Facebook groups and stuff like that, and kind of bringing that whole thing up, because guys like you and I and a lot of the other names in the industry, we're passionate about this industry, right? Like, we're passionate about laying down the best floors, doesn't matter materials, but that's the value that you give, because when you give that, that's when everything rises around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, and it's in the education. You touch on the education several times. And I think we spoke on it extensively the first go around as well. The importance of education, I think that we agree on, not, and I too see it in the industry groups, amongst installers as a general rule, amongst suppliers, even suppliers that don't necessarily supply the product that may be in question or a topic of conversation. You have a lot of people providing legitimate, unbiased information, like real tech information about the products, whether they supply them, whether they make money on them or not. And I think that is good for the installers and the industry as a whole. But I think I've noticed that there is an increase for end user knowledge, right? And end user education. And a lot of guys, I've noticed, may or may not see the long-term value in that, right? But as an industry, the more that, in my opinion, the more that we're able to educate the end user on the systems that we're selling, the less that we end up worrying about the guys who do not install the systems properly, right? So we get to the point where maybe a guy that's installing the systems properly, he's having trouble competing price point wise with somebody who doesn't. The more we educate the end user, the more that we're reducing that as a factor, in my opinion. So I think the education across the board is critical in that regard for us all to be able to maintain financial success. If if a quality installer is unable to sell a properly installed system at a price point that he can make money and feed his family, then there's no way that he can sell the system in order to ensure that the supplier feeds his family, the manufacturer feeds his family. I mean, we all have to look out for each other. So in my opinion, one of the fundamental contributors of that long term is education across the board, even outside of the industry that we're working in. If the end user doesn't know the difference between the Lamborghini install and the Fred Flintstone Walmart install, not going to ever survive,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So as Wicked Colors now, like present time, right? So you're established, obviously serious name. Like focusing on mixed media, but also having different branches on it. Let's talk about that. Like you could probably stay busy just doing the high level stuff that you do, but how important is diversification to you guys?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. It's a great question because it's one of the things that I bring up at training classes or collaboration jobs with other installers. Uh, the custom jobs is definitely been a contributing factor in our growth and the notoriety because it's the eye candy, sexy stuff that everybody sees, right? Everybody's like, man, I want to do floors like that. I want to do floors like, but the reality of the entire equation is that the majority of money that Wicked Colors creates is derived off of standard installs, right? You take an industry that we offer it as an industry solutions in a diverse platform, right? There's so many different areas from broom finish overlays, crack remediation, polish work, grind and seals, epoxy coatings, whether it be chemical labs, commercial kitchens, schools. I mean, we have guys that are providing solutions and options in so many different outlets that are more along the lines of a need, not a want. So a lot of the notoriety, Wicked Colors, I think it's safe to assume we achieve 100% of our exposure with the custom stuff, but we derive a larger percentage of our financial success with standard cookie cutter installs. Even the wood plank, and I'm saying cookie cutter, wood plank overlays, stone overlays. A lot of the money we make has nothing to do with the custom mixed media, bumblebee stuff on the floor. I am a passionate artist at heart. So those level of projects I primarily focus on personally. I get the opportunity to travel around and I do collaborations with other installers. So that's a great thing. And I'm extremely thankful and fully intend to continue pursuing the custom work, along with continuing to pursue the more standardized installs as well. We've had, in talking on the present and the things that we have going on, this coming year, we've spent the last several years networking on a national level, building long-term relationships with like-minded and morally grounded installers on a national level. After the first of the year, we will effectively be pushing more on a national level, and expanding our reach for day-to-day installs with affiliate companies. We have some really big things coming, and we're excited to finalize some stuff, with some of which has already been finalized. But we have a collective push that is going to be good, not just for Wicked Colors and these affiliate companies, but for the industry as a whole. It's very much collaboratory minded, and the structure it just goes hand in hand with the presentation and our behavior thus far throughout the industry. We've also, in conjunction with Epoxy Depot and AAA Decorative Concrete Supply, who happens to, both of which distribute some of our products, which is not where I'm trying to go in this podcast, but we've initiated a collaboratory partnership with an apprenticeship program, which is currently based out of Florida, but they have locations in Southern California, Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio, where Wicked Colors is offering annual scholarships to every one of the students who are within this apprenticeship program. The reason I'm touching on it, and just to put it out there to anybody who might be watching, is this platform, it's not designed, there's no financial incentive for Wicked Colors. It's completely done with the intention that we provide a platform for apprenticeship students who are interested in coming into the flooring industry specifically. These apprentices have been vetted by the program. Where the intention is to provide a platform for the networking between people looking for jobs within the flooring industry and flooring companies looking to hire long-term help. Labor, the lack of labor day and age is a huge thing. It's impacting all of us. And it's one of those things that if in my humble opinion, as a group, if we do not work together on fixing that long term, it can only continue to hurt us, So it's just Epoxy Depot, Wicked Colors, AAA Decorative Concrete Supply. Every one of them give a big round of applause. The National Association of Flooring Contractors Apprenticeship Program, huge salute for what everybody's doing on that end. You guys check it out on the website. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing.
All right, cool. And I'll talk to you offline. I'll get a link for that and we'll drop it down in the comments and stuff for that. Cause obviously I want to try to help out in any way I can with that too. But, and now correct me, and I'm just spitballing right here, but I know right now, currently you got a couple locations with Wicked Colors, right? Started as a painting company. Now there's a couple different locations. Like, how do you go from owner operator to starting a second location or even a second trailer for that matter? Like, what were your steps to literally just kind of like, you're grinding, you got the jobs, but what do you do first? Are you hiring sales guys? Are you hiring install guys? Are you finding a second location 2 hours away? What did you do?
That's another great question. I think we covered some of that the first time too. It's good stuff. To be honest with you, if I had to sum it up in one statement, it's and you're a business owner, I know you can relate. A lot of times it's just jumping, I find myself having to jump and commit even before I'm necessarily ready for it. So you're always fighting that double-edged sword. I need the installs to generate the cash flow to justify increased overhead at the office, right? So it's always this fine balance. I need additional overhead and additional staff at the office in order to push additional installs. So there's always this catch-22 of what direction should I push farther. If I had to sum up, at least as far as Wicked Colors is concerned, the mindset is more than anything. I think the fundamentals of expansion to numerous locations, some of which are opportunities that presented themselves. I wasn't always looking for it, although I strategically kept an open mind on expansion. I think for the most part, it was the willingness to jump when an opportunity presented itself. And in order to get into a position where I was capable to jump on those opportunities, I worked 90 hours a day, work when everybody's sleeping. Yeah. And to bring up Steve Moore, he said something to me a long time ago that has stuck. And it's one of the things I always throw back at him. He told me that if I wanted people to think that I was everywhere, then I had to be almost everywhere. So I got to be moving while they're sleeping. And I've taken that to heart. I think that sometimes it's not so much as having the financial ability today to make the move. It's having the passion to make the people around you know without a doubt that you will forsake everything else in order to fulfill the promises that you make to them, in order to get your team to support that. Because none of us can do what we're doing without the teams behind us. So I think the real credit isn't mine. I think it really goes to the core group of individuals that I have around me, for putting in the work. I might have an idea, but the support system that I have, who believes in the direction I want to go, even before I'm capable of getting us there. I think that's the fundamental. If there, I think that's all it boils down to. I don't know if I truly answered your question, but it's one of those things. I jump on the opportunity as they come, and I swing for the fences, and I don't say no. And if I make a commitment, then I honor it, even to my own loss. I'm the first one on the field, and I'm the last one off it, to the point of exhaustion. I'm one of the. I don't expect my team to give me as much as I give them, but I expect them to give me 100%. So in turn, I give them 200%. And I'm one of the passionate individuals who I sacrifice a lot of my personal life and relationships, and I forsake a lot of things that your average person might not be prepared to forsake. And that's okay. There's not a right or wrong. Just in an effort to flesh out an answer to your question. That's
yeah. I mean,
to
that you summed it all up. Yeah, well, right, exactly. So it's kind of, nobody can see this, but off the side we have some posters, and one of them says entrepreneur, and it says someone who jumps off a cliff and builds a plane on the way down, right? It's a common saying, but it's in front of our eyes at all times, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't take the chance, you don't, right? And that one resonated with me. We had a bunch of real powerful meetings with some of our business coach recently. We talked about vision, right? So like projecting your vision for the company, like on employees, right? So we all have the same vision, like a goal and a mission statement, but a vision is something that you can attain and you can preach all the time, and that's, like you said, if they have a mindset and the vision, if you do a good enough job telling them what your vision is and where the company's going, you're creating buy-in with all that.
Absolutely. And not to keep bringing Steve up, but he's a very close friend of mine. So we have a lot of business growth type of conversations.
Yeah.
It's another thing that he always comes back, and I admire him so much in his leadership capabilities and the way that he inspires his team, even long before you're able to produce the result, and I'm a firm believer in showing, being the guy that shows them. So, you inspire them and you convince them of something in the office, but you have to be the individual that shows them as well.
Sure. Well, and that's the last question I want to talk about, kind of at the present, right? So if you're doing a high-end mixed media piece, right, you got overlay, you got a metallic going, you got a vertical carve, right? You got some airbrush now going on the walls, like some of that real high-end shit. People might just think Wicked Colors is you or your face, right? Because that's just what some people think. Realistically, there's a team of 10 people behind you. Doesn't matter, but like,
yeah, absolutely.
None of that shit happened without any of them, right? And then like, what is that like for you?
As far as,
well, like, what's it like when you go into a project and you're just like, it might be your start of a vision, right? You go sketch your shit, right? I don't know how you do it, but just you got this, then all of a sudden you got a whole team of people behind you. You got to delegate and lead and do all that type of stuff, right? To get to the final end. Like, what is the process? And like at the end, like high fives and
yeah, absolutely. Team management is another thing that I count myself humbly grateful for a skill set. And we all know that different aspects of a team, it's all one wheel, and everybody has attributes that they are more proficient at. So in team building, and it's the same rule applies on the job site with technicians, right? As your office, right? Who is better suited to maintain accounting, right? You may have someone that's proficient in sales because they get along with people, but the person who is most adept at tracking and managing your finances, who you trust without exception, doesn't have the people skills to sell the product, right? We all understand the dynamic of different mindsets, different personalities are better suited for each thing. It's no different building a team of qualified technicians. The biggest fundamental hurdle that I have seen personally, and I have had enough validation from other people who I have huge respect for on on the install side, which I'm very humbled to include a lot of those individuals on our team. Brian, born in Florida, happens to be one of the ones I'm talking about. You know, he's wicked colors and huge, I mean, monster when it comes to artistic creativity. But you'll notice that even people, the biggest obstacle is ego, right? Whether it's in the office, whether it's in the field, whether it's in your personal team dynamic, it's one of the most construction, as a general rule, is one of the most ego driven industries in the world, in my opinion. Uh, having the ability or having the opportunity to have assembled a team of people who set their ego to the side and they all give each other credit for the skills that they are good at, but they also are smart enough to get out of the way when somebody else is more efficient in a skill set. Having the right people on the job or having the right people in the right position makes some of the things that you were asking about much easier, because we don't have to think or talk about it. Certain aspects of a custom job, I already know what aspects of it someone's expecting me to jump in on, right? They just get out of the way and let me do the things that I do best, and they jump in and pull the lead on things that I know that they do best. More like a special forces mindset. Everybody's got their own spot. So it's really more proficient and efficient than you might think.
Yeah.
With the,
Well, and I want to touch on that as we start talking about the future and stuff like that, talking about hiring and firing, even unfortunately, and stuff like that. But so as we move into kind of the future of Wicked Colors and stuff, again, don't give away your secrets and anything like that. But I want to talk about the floor wars in a minute, but like right now, as it kind of sits, obviously that we know that that's a huge event, but where's the future of Wicked Colors as a company going?
so we'll continue. We actually have, as I referenced before, several expansion models that we've been working on for the past couple of years that we are pushing into starting the first of the year. Obviously, we'll continue to do the custom work. We have some larger profile, long-term clients that will continue to generate even more. Obviously, the goal in any facet of what you're doing is to continue to level up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we are definitely pursuing in a strong way the custom work that we've always been passionate about. Building teams of proficient, recognized artists, quality technicians, and having a collective of those Ryan Bournes of the industry who had put ego to the side and suit up with the same jersey on and are knocking out high level jobs together. That's definitely something that will continue to grow. I have no doubt. You will see watching throughout the industry that we will have a very fast expansion into standard installs throughout the country coming here very quickly. On the consulting side and the R&D and system development and consulting with manufacturers, that is another more quietly kept end of what we do. There's a lot of non-disclosed and those type of things that we're involved in, representing manufacturers on site for numerous reasons, involved on the design end or system development in a particular job that may be hitting the industry. Those things we will continue to grow that side. National training division. There's a lot of things that we have in the works, all working in tandem, and the last couple of years have been exhausting, to say the least. I'd be lying if I said it. Everything has come together very nicely, so I'm extremely excited for the next couple of years.
That's super exciting. So I'm going to ask two boring but important questions before we get to the fun stuff. We all know everything you just talked about is amazing, and it's going to take hard work and dedication. How important is a work-life balance, and does that even exist?
You pull out the big guns every time.
Yeah, because I know the answer. I already know.
know the answer. Um,
Exactly.
all I can do is speak from my perspective, and sometimes, and I find the reason that I'm stutter stepping on it is it's one of those situations where I know what I tell my team, right? What I encourage my team and the lead executives within Wicked Colors, the lead personnel, the lead in the office, every one of my employees. I encourage, I try to be that guy that at every level of my team, I'm knowledgeable about what they have going on in their personal life. I try to encourage a lifestyle balance for everyone in my team because I know that that is a healthy model
Hmm.
for a person. Um, I don't practice what I preach when it comes to that. Uh, it's very, very, very difficult to operate at the level of expansion and push that I personally maintain on numerous fronts, not just Wicked Colors, but I'm actively own or in partial owner in multiple companies in and outside the industry. Um, and I know I'm not alone in that. There's a lot of guys that sit in a similar position. And I find it very, very hard to find that lifestyle work balance because essentially my entire life is creating and building a bigger picture. And I'm passionate about it. So what some people may see as work, I don't see it as work. It's just my life. Although I will acknowledge that with that approach, it does inhibit certain personal relationships, and not everybody's suited for it. And like I said before, that's okay. I'm very fortunate on my personal life side to again be surrounded by the right people who see the bigger picture and are committed and pull the weight behind closed doors. And it's just I'm very fortunate in a lot of aspects of my life, and collectively all of those things allow my companies to be successful. And it's like I said before, the credit is really not mine. I couldn't do everything that I'm doing without every piece in the puzzle.
100%. And everything that everybody listening to this should take out of that is when you surround yourself with the right people, your work life becomes one in theory. Yeah, you work a lot. Like for me, Melissa, she's the owner of the company. I work with her in the office. I go home. It's just the way life is, but we're both on the same track. So it's not a
Yes,
work life separation. So when you find the right people and you can collaborate together, and again, you're the sum of the five people you hang around, family, doesn't matter,
absolutely.
right? So that's what you guys got to take out of that. All right, one last question. If you were to hire somebody today to be underneath you as an apprentice, if you will, or at least, kind of work side by side with you, would you look for somebody that doesn't know anything about the industry or coatings or, decorative industry? Or would you look for somebody that's got a lot of experience and you can remold them, if you will?
Another great question. So it's a
So it's like somebody that's
there.
brand new to the industry, like doesn't know shit, right? You got a green newbie, right? Apprentice, or you're
Yeah,
gonna have a guy that's kind of maybe set in his ways, if you will, right? Maybe 5, 10 years in the industry, and then you gotta like maybe get him on your team, right? Like,
absolutely. No, I fully, completely understand the question. So it's a two-pronged answer from me, right? So I'm coming at it from both sides. And again, Steve Moore, the great, great source of inspiration. He tells me all the time that if I want to build fast, I build it with type A personalities. If I want to build something that lasts, I build it with type B personalities.
sure.
And it goes along this type of question. So one of the things that I found, if you put a pin in that, I'll come back to that in a second. One of the things that I found, experience versus enthusiasm, right? It's one of the things that we bring up all the time in Wicked Colors. And I always say that I'll take enthusiasm over experience any day of the week because, and I know you can appreciate this as a business owner, you've spent a lot of time, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of money lost, a lot of losses, period, in order to get where you are. And some of the systems and the fundamentals of the way you operate your company, whether it's installs, whether it's the podcast, whatever it may be, whatever you're doing in business, the way that you do it is a result of everything that's transpired to date. So one of the hardest things that I've found is finding somebody that has both experience but a personality type that can ingrain themselves within your company without trying to change the fundamentals of your company. It's very, very difficult for me to find a balance in that. In a perfect world, we can, but if I have to pick one or the other, enthusiasm or experience, I always fall to the enthusiasm, because if someone's passionate, I'm willing to teach them. It may take me a little bit longer, but that passion is something that you can't buy. I can buy the experience because I can pay for them to get knowledge, you know. It's very difficult to uningrain habits from somebody that has a large amount of experience, although you can't compete with the pace that you can build having the right experience on your team. So it's a catch-22.
Right.
I know I didn't
Yeah.
do a solid answer, but it's a fine balance. If you figure out the ultimate solution, let me know offline. Yeah, because I'm gonna.
I wish it was, but I agree with you, honestly, because I mean, we train a lot of new guys, right? That's kind of what we do, is a lot of business development, coaching, stuff like that. But I mean, it's tricky because you want that guy that's gonna already just come right into your team and it's accelerated, right? Knowledge is king. But then if you got, who knows what's going on, but they're kind of start chipping away at your core values, or maybe that just doesn't align, it's not the right thing. So you can mold people into that, and that's leadership and development and everything we've already talked
Sometimes
about.
what they're bringing to the table, sometimes ideas that they have may be the best thing for your company. And the problem ends up being that you now have this train of all these employees and all these systems that are working, right? And too much change along the course of that train too fast gets it shaken, right? And it ends up derailing because you're trying to implement all these changes instead of at a gradual pace. So that is the difficulty when you have that high level of experience and that type of headbutting in the corporate side, in my experience.
Yeah. No,
Although
yeah.
thing for your business growth, it's tough to keep those type of A-type personalities all in line. Great question, man.
No, man, but it's 100%. And that I see that quite a bit, you know, with people and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously we know hiring's whatever. That's a whole different level of stuff. Now let's get into the fun shit. So let's talk about the epoxy floor wars, right? So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Do your thing.
It's I don't know anybody who's watching. It's been heavily promoted online. So next week, I mean, the time is now, the 9th, 20th, and 21st. Wicked Colors and Epoxy Depot is putting on epoxy floor wars, industry driven. We have 8 contestants competing. Brian Bourne and I are coaches. We have a judge panel, which is comprised of some of the heaviest hitters in the decorative industry side. We have Bob Harris, legend. Rebecca Piscardo, she needs no introduction. Ben Bass, Rick Lobdell, all of which Rick Lobdell has been around forever, known, intimately involved in the ASCC and the Decorative Concrete Council. I mean, these are all huge, huge names. It's super exciting that those are the ones that are judging tests of skill. There's a $25,000 pot for the winning team to be dispersed over the winning team. It's just, we have so many cool little things going on at the event. We have vendor sponsors, you being one. We're super grateful for that. Just the outpouring of support across the industry, man, across the country. We have people who have been supportive on the sponsorship side, the vendor side, contestants applying for it. It's just, it's very humbling to be involved in it on an upper level, but it is also very humbling to be within an industry that you see how fast everybody comes together for a good cause, right? So it's just huge. I think that, I know this is season 1, so we're intending to do it every single year. It's already looking like it's going to be even. I don't know how it's going to get any better than this year, next year. But I already see that it's just going to get huge. You know, the number of people involved. We have a full production video team producing the thing. It's going to be very good. I can't speak enough on it. It's getting so close. I hate to burn all the secrets too, but if you guys are already registered to attend, do so. I know we're filling up fast. We got to coordinate parking and all of that, shuttling people in. We got food trucks. There's a lot going on. So if you intend to come and you haven't already registered, just give us a heads up. We would love to have you. Just give us a heads up if you can.
Yeah. And again, those links will be down below, and I'm going to edit this and get this out today yet, or as soon as possible, so we can get people to this event, because again, guys, I think Isaiah is humbly not expressing what this event actually is, because it is growing. Like, I remember when I first heard about this, I was like, oh, it's cool. They're going to come do some floors together. But like literally over the course of the last 2 weeks, realistically, you're seeing sponsor after sponsor after sponsor and the teams, and like it's blowing up in the last 2 weeks. And like,
Can't even keep up with it. And I'm involved in it, and it's just going up so fast. I can't even keep up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. And again, not teamwork as in like your teamwork for designing that thing, but it's teamwork within the industry, I guess, right? Like I'm seeing people like there's like 5 or 6, maybe even 7 or 8 different like chemical companies, right? So you're coming to a chemical company to promote your chemical company, but nobody's actually in competition with each other. No,
absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's the most hybrid collaboration of industry people. If like I've never seen it before. I've never seen a level of collaboration where you have legitimate competitors on a day-to-day basis, and everybody's just falling in like this is great for the industry and promoting it. From the judges panel, you got and to those, big round of applause to all of those names that I listed. When I first reached out and talked to them, there was no hesitation. They were like, man, this looks extremely good for the industry. And it goes for every sponsor. I mean, people have just fallen in, like no questions asked, just huge support. So again, it's super humbling. I can't express enough gratitude on behalf of Wicked Colors myself. I think I could speak for Epoxy Depot and Steve Moore when just a huge round of applause for all the support that we have on that. Super excited to see everybody next week. It's going to be a really good time, man.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm fortunate enough where I'm going to be able to attend and get to see everybody and to see it go down. So there'll be a lot of footage and everything and all that kind of going on and everything. And honestly, I'd love to have you back after it, right? Like kind of do a post podcast, right? Because right? What can we learn about? What can we do? So we'll get you on again. But guys, before we end,
February too. You have the Dallas convention coming in February.
Yeah. Appreciate you mentioning that. And that's the last thing I want to end with, guys. So again, anybody that knows me or anybody within our company, we're huge on education and business development and growth, right? So one of the things that we try to pride ourselves on is education, because if you're a business owner, if you're in the trenches, doesn't matter if you're putting down a coating or whatever it is, you don't know what you don't know. So when you look at mentors and leadership or business coaching, all of that is designed to make sure that you don't step in the same pothole that person stepped in, right? Everything that we're doing within the industry, whether it's from Floor Wars or everything we talked about, if you get a mentorship from the apprentice program that Isaiah was talking about to our mastermind that we're talking about. So February 26th in 2024, it's the Concrete and Coatings Mastermind. So it's very, very specific. Concrete, decorative concrete, stamp work, stain, coatings, everything that we're talking about. This is a business mastermind that's going to be in Dallas. It's only 300 people, and we are having the top name speak. I am very humbled to say that Isaiah is going to be speaking. He's going to have his own dedicated time. He'll be on a panel. Everything that's going to be what we talked about, but more in depth. Everything's going to be tactical ways on how to grow the business. So we're doing the same thing. Some of those names that he mentioned on the panel of judges, they're going to be at the event. Tickets are going to go on sale shortly. Nothing's been released yet, but tickets will be for sale. So if you guys are interested in learning how to grow your business, right? What's it look like to go from 1 to 2 trailers? Who's your first hire, right? Why hire A team players and B team, right? It's a more in-depth and tactical explanation of everything that this man has already talked about, and other leaders only in our industry have already gone through. So if you guys want to level up your business in 2024, that's the event to go to, so we can all share the knowledge. Vendors, sponsors, everything that we've already talked about, they're going to be there. We've already had a lot of collaboration on that end of things. It's not about whose product is better. It's about how much can we level up this industry. So
Super stoked to be there for that too. And I want to extend you a thanks for the invitation to speak there. We're extremely excited, man. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yes, sir.
Gonna be good times. I
Yeah.
appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate the opportunity to be here speaking today. I can't express it enough. Super humbled.
Yeah, no. All right, guys, let's end this. So again, thanks for tuning in to another amazing event of Beyond the Crete. Stay tuned for your next episode. We'll do some follow-ups with Isaiah after the event. Stay tuned for some of the videos and I shoot out there next week. So if you guys have anything you need to learn, it's all in the description below. But remember, always figure out a way to level up your life and your business, and everything will follow around you. So I appreciate you guys. We'll see you.